and welcome back to Happening by Chance. My name is Mariana and today I am here with a short, interesting, fun walkthrough. Recently I bought this super cool facsimile of Spanish playing cards printed in Mexico in the 19th century, specifically I think 1868. Yes, 1868. I came across this and I was very excited. If you saw my video when I did the walkthrough for the Marseille printed in Mexico in the 70s, I talked a lot there about why I was so excited and about the fact that in Mexico we have no tradition of cartomancy, in the sense that there isn't any Mexican cartomantic system. The closest to traditional Mexican playing cards would be the Spanish playing cards that, of course, we inherited from the Spanish when Mexico was a Spanish colony. So I talked more about that in the video where I did the colorful Mexican Marseille walkthrough, but I still had the walkthrough of these to do, and I thought it would be perfect to leave this one to post on September 16th, because today we are celebrating Mexican Independence Day. So happy Mexican Independence Day. Yesterday we had our parties at night, the parties where you celebrate the independence of your country and you have fireworks and those types of things that happened yesterday on the night of the 15th. I was going to give some more context on what exactly we commemorate on the night of the 15th and such, but I'm not going to go that deep into it. I'm just going to say, yesterday we had the official celebration from the government, the president, etc., and also everyone who did parties. They were yesterday night, and today we have the day off. It's a holiday because it's Mexican independence. So I thought it would be perfect today to do this thematic video where I would show this facsimile of this set of Spanish playing cards printed in Mexico in the 19th century. I was doing some bit of research because I wanted some, history of this set of playing cards and the printer and stuff. So I am going to maybe talk a little bit about that. If you have never seen Spanish playing cards before, there are 40 cards, and so you have the suits, you have the courts, but the courts don't have queens, and we will see the structure when we get into the cards. Also, I'm not the biggest fan of Spanish playing cards, and I don't know if that is because they are so common to me, because they are so common in Mexico, and I feel like often that happens when something that's common to you is not as attractive as other things. So I am not the biggest fan. So when I saw this one, I knew I had to buy it. I have always wanted a set of Spanish playing cards for my collection because I think it makes sense as a cartomancy lover to have something that is more culturally adjacent to me. But because I don't love them, I had never bought one. So I was thinking about getting like the traditional ones that are super cheap, that just to have in my collection, when I came across this facsimile. And not only did I think that it was very cool that if I was going to add Spanish playing cards to my collection, if it was a facsimile from the 19th century printed in Mexico, that would be very cool. But also the design of the cards, I think, is prettier than the ones today. at least from my view. So I thought, okay, these are really cool. So the box, right away you see in the coin, I guess, you have the eagle. So it's the eagle standing on a nopal, which is a type of cactus, devouring a serpent. That is the image that you see in the middle, or in the center of the Mexican flag. Of course, the design is different because this design has evolved over time, but it's the basic symbology: the eagle with the nopal and the snake. So this symbology comes from mythology of the Mexica, who were the Aztecs. If you saw my top 10 curiosity decks, I talked there about the proper name for the Aztecs, which is not Aztecs, because that's not how they call themselves. But from their mythology, it comes this image of the eagle. I'm not going to go into detail about where it comes from and what exactly is the story. That's not this video. Today I'm just going to show some pretty cards to commemorate Happy Independence Day. So it says Gran Fábrica F. Munguia, which means like the great factory of Munguia. Munguia is the family, and it was their factory. Actually, the Munguia family, I did a little bit of research, and the Munguia family have a lot of different businesses. So they had a tobacco business, and they also had the playing cards, and they also had a chocolate business, and I think that's the most famous, the chocolate. And nowadays, I think, I don't know if still today, but at least the most recent was like also furniture. But this is of course the playing card section. This set is known as the name of this set is La Campana, and the factory name was El Águila, so the eagle and the bell. As you can see, this is the ace of coins, and you have again the eagle with the symbology, and the Gran Fábrica F. Munguia, and then these are the backs. I can't see if I am in frame. Okay, I think that's better. So two of coins, and here you see Mexico, Merced. This is the address where it was located, Merced 8, Merced 8. And actually, the family Munguia, have a foundation called La Merced that is, I think, working to this day. It was founded in 1962, and the design of the cards is just taken from traditional Spanish playing cards. Here you see La Campana, naipes finos. Naipes finos means like fine playing cards, or like quality playing cards. La Campana is, as I said, that's how this playing card set is known. So you have the coins. And as you can see, you have like the jack, you have the knight, and you have the king, and the numbers go up to 7. So if you notice, it goes up to 7, and then 8 is the jack, and then the 9 is the knight, and then the 10 is the king. There are no queens in the Spanish playing cards, which is something I don't like. But that's how it goes. So the cups, so ace of cups, two of cups, and here you can read expendio por mayor y menor de la fábrica de la bola del rival. Oh, okay, see, this says for like what's the word in English, when you sell multiple, or when you sell small quantities. if I remember, or rather, I'm going to put on screen the name, but that's just what it means, that you can sell them in like large quantities or small quantities of the Fábrica de la Bola del Rival is actually the tobacco factory. So you see, it's all by the same family, right? They have lots of different businesses, and here you have a factory of quality playing cards La Campana, so Fábrica Naipes Finos de la Campana. Oh, so the factory was La Campana, maybe El Águila was the name of the company. I just did some quick research before I did the walkthrough, and I came across some really interesting PDFs, really interesting historical archives, and I even came across a book published by this company in 1872 that is a book about tobacco for their tobacco customers, but then it also has a section on cartomancy and divination with cards. Sadly, the page that I found that on, the link is not working, so I haven't been able to find that document, but believe me, I'm going to keep looking, because I just think that's so interesting, so cool, and I need to get my hands on that document. So this one says linen paper, papel de lino, this stamp. And F. Munguia is the family. I love the color of the colors in these cards. If you Google like current playing card, Spanish playing cards, I think the colors is something I don't like. It's like yellow, red, like these ones, yellow, red, and it's the same colors, except the shade of the colors I don't like. So here is year of 1868. 1868, or the 19th century in general in Mexico, is a very, again, linen paper, papel de lino. The 19th century in Mexico is a super turbulent time. Again, Merced number 8, which I think is the address. It's a very turbulent time. Like the official date when the start of the independence movement and like active armed movement is recognized in 1810. So if you Google the start of the Mexican independence, you are going to find September 16th, 1810. But then there was it was a lot of years of armed conflict until the independence was finally signed on September 27th, 1821. So the 19th century, it started with the independence movement, which actually is very interesting because, you know, when you're in elementary school and they teach you about the independence, and even nowadays, like the narrative that the government has in this day, it's obviously like to liberate the people, and, you know, that type of discourse. But actually, the independence movement started because there was a set of laws in Spain that removed the rights of the Spanish-born Mexicans. So, like, citizens who were children of Spanish families but born in Mexico or at the time New Spain, they had certain rights that were above the people who were born here and from families from here. But then Spain passed a set of laws that removed those rights. And that's when the children of Spanish families were really angry that they weren't going to be superior to everyone else anymore. And so that's why they started pushing for independence. That is something that I literally learned as an adult. And I can bet you that if you research the independence of your own country, you will find something similar. You know, the history of the world is not rooted in the defense of the oppressed. People in power will always be people in power and are always looking for their own benefit, as you can see today in the world Anyway, back to the romantic story. Or rather, not romantic, because as I said, the 19th century was very turbulent. So again, here it's linen paper, papel de lino. I think the design of the clubs is my least favorite in the Spanish playing cards, especially in the modern day playing cards. I don't know why. I have never liked this design of clubs. Also in Italian decks, a lot of Italian tarot has this design of clubs, and I personally don't love it. Again, Mexico and the address, Merced. But yeah, so it was a very turbulent time, because if you think about it, 1821 was when the independence was signed. So after that, a country has to decide, okay, now that we are independent, how are we going to function? And actually, Mexico went a very interesting route for 2 years, I think it was 2 years, where they at first decided, okay, we are going to be an empire, but a Mexican empire. So we actually had an emperor for, I think, 2 years, who was born here, so it was going to be the empire, and that is known as the first Mexican empire, because then there is a second Mexican empire in the 19th century, that is imposed by the French. So as you can see, the 19th century started with the independence, then we have the first Mexican empire, then we have the beginning of the republic, and the presidents. And then when these cards were printed, the country was just coming out of a civil war known as the War of Reforma, which is, I think, a war that everywhere in the world you see, especially also in Europe, which is the reform. So when the state tries to separate from the church, there initiates this war between the conservatives and the liberals. And it was like a 3-year war, very turbulent. And this set of playing cards are printed when the country was just coming out of that war. Actually, I might be getting my dates wrong. But I'm telling you all this just to set the context for, when these playing cards were printed. And that actually makes me, I don't know, think, when you think of tarot, right? I feel like there are so many interesting political things surrounding tarot that people mostly gloss over. Authors, when they write about tarot and the symbology of tarot, it's from this perspective of super esoteric, magical reason, when in reality, a lot of the symbolism in tarot, most of the symbolism in tarot, comes from political stuff, political disputes, political / religious disputes, which I think go hand in hand, because even though technically there is a separation, I feel like the church has always been very involved, or exerts a certain influence, which I guess you can see a lot with what's happening now in the US, right? So, like, for instance, right, like, let me remove this. Think about, like, the eagle devouring a serpent on top of a nopal. That has a very, like, romantic story about, like, a prophecy that when they would find an eagle standing there and devouring a serpent, that is where they should establish. But if you read more history, that story is a narrative created to justify, to give identity to the people that end up settling where eventually they built Tenochtitlan, the Aztecs. I'm not going to go, Mexica, I'm not going to go into detail, but if you look at most of the symbology and those types of things, usually it comes from political stuff, from political / religious, from conflicts, from narratives that are purposefully created to generate identity, to consolidate a political power. And I think that is very interesting, and to me, because that connects you to human history, because that connects you to, yeah, the history of the world, the history of humans, to the past, to how the past connects to the present, to all of the stuff that you see, that you live. Kind of what I was saying, I think I talked about this in my top 10 curiosity Dex video. Because of all that, I've always thought that's very magical. That connection, like reading the actual history, because that then leads you to symbology, because like it doesn't remove the magic, think of the eagle. There is a created narrative to give identity. Knowing that doesn't remove from the magic, because it's still creating an identity, and that is pretty magical. It's still creating a national identity. It's story, it's narrative created by humans, and that in my mind is pretty magical. I'm just like quickly shuffling. It's obviously not going to be well shuffled. I just wanted to lay some cards so you could see how they look laid down. Let's see if I can get some different ones. Okay, yeah. Maybe let's purposefully look for one of the ones that have more color. Let's do this one. So, that's how they would look laid out. And yeah, so that is a walkthrough. Today I just want to do this quick walkthrough, talk about these things, and yeah, happy Mexican independence to everyone. I have a video that I want to film specifically devoted to Loteria, because if you watch my walkthrough of the Marseille that was printed in Mexico in the 70s, I talked there about how Loteria is not a method used for divination traditionally in Mexico. Hopefully I'll be able to get that in September as well, because September is Mexico month because of the independence. September is the month when we have like our decorations and stuff. Oh, I forgot to bring, hold on, I'm going to bring it. I currently have this on my altar. So I love Hello Kitty since I was a girl, and my mom bought this for me, so it's like a patriotic Hello Kitty with the Mexican colors and the Mexican flag. It has glitter, and she bought this for me just so I, decorated my altar a little bit, and I was going to have it here for the video, and I forgot, but I'm showing it to you now. So that would be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, my name is Mariana. This is Happening by Chance. I will see you soon with another video, and in the meantime, I wish you happy reading, whether that be card reading, book reading, weather patterns, charms, pendulums, whatever form of reading you prefer.